Welcome to the Paradigm Shift on 4ZZZ 102.1, where we challenge the assumptions of our current society to resist depression and investigate alternative ways of living, for a world based on justice, solidarity and sustainability. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift on 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. Good on you for tuning in to Brisbane's own community radio station. My name is Andy and I will be hanging out with you for the next hour. I'm coming to you this week from on the road at Wangan country in Western Australia near Kalgoorlie, but I will be talking to you about issues much closer to home in Brisbane, and both of them concern Aboriginal country. In fact, firstly, I'm going to be speaking to Daniel Thompson, who is a Yuggera person, one of the nations that is over the southeast Queensland there around the Brisbane area. Daniel has been part of the Deebing Creek protection camp, which has been going for several years now, trying to stop the clearing and suburbanisation of the old Deebing Creek mission, which Yuggera people say was the site of a massacre. And there's been a few developments there. They've found some bones, and there are claims that these bones are human bones, but possibly related to that, they've been given a trespass notice from AV Jennings, the developer there, but they're still standing strong at Deebing Creek. And I'll also be speaking to Coedie McAvoy. He's Wangan and Jagalingou man, and for the last 260 days he has been camping out at Waddananggu, the cultural ceremony site that is taking place on the mining lease of Adani, of course, Queensland's least favourite coal mining company. Wangan and Jagalingou people have been resisting it for a long time, and the Waddananggu camp is the latest step in their resistance. They are still there, and coming up next week is a tour de Carmichael, a bike ride, cultural tour on push bikes through Wangan and Jagalingou country, so I'll talk to Coedie about that as well. That's all coming up on the show, so stick around, and let's get into it and have a listen to my chat with Daniel Thompson about the campaign and camping out on country to try to protect Deebing Creek.
My name is Daniel Thompson. I'm a descendant of people from the Greater Ipswich region. The spelling of our nation and tribal group is spelt Yuggera.
And Yuggera people have been working to defend a site near Ipswich that is called Deebing Creek. Can you give us a bit of an overview of that site and the campaign to protect it?
So the campaign, so like what you just mentioned, is so the people on site now, the protectors, Jarjanbar Protection Group, are near the gazetted cemetery area of Deebing Creek. But the protection actually started way back when, probably in the 70s and 80s. A lot of people from my particular bloodline were camped out there and said the place was a spot of massacre, and that's why they were out there protecting the site way back when.
So as you say, Yuggera people have said that it is a site of a massacre, but it was also the site of a mission. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so a mission and/or reserve in which people were placed there from all different backgrounds, like all different backgrounds as in Aboriginal groups, nations, and all the rest of it. They come from all over, not only probably Queensland, but parts of northern New South Wales. I think people from Victoria were even placed there. We've heard stories that even people from WA were placed at Deebing Creek. So, yeah.
So for Yuggera people, Deebing Creek is a significant site, but what about it makes it significant? Is it that it was the site of the massacre, or that it was the mission, or there's also a cemetery there?
Yeah, well, there is a gazetted cemetery there. We used ground penetrating radar in 2019, and the ground penetrating radar that we used basically proved that there was the potential for trenches to be under the surface. So that's one of the reasons why Deebing Creek is significant. We've also found recently through the discovery of human remains in a pit-like area, which is still set to be developed. It goes under the Deebing Springs jurisdiction of A.V. Jennings. They still want to develop the site where it's been proven that there's human remains on the surface to this day. That's another reason why it's significant. There's endangered species of tea tree all around the place. There's koala habitat, which it's clear, like where the protectors are camped now, they've seen multiple koalas, recorded koalas findings all the time. You can see them on certain gums that are out there. It's significant for that reason. And over to the main Fraser site, which we haven't been able to access for a long time, there's a lot of reasons why that place is significant and needs further investigation as well. There's an old bunya there as well, as well as other things of cultural significance. I don't want to allude too much about it, but there's more than one thing on the main Fraser site, as they call it nowadays, and they still want to develop that, which is still very culturally significant to not only our people, but people from all different nations and clan groups.
Yeah, so let's talk about the application to develop it. A.V. Jennings, a development company, is proposing to clear the site and subdivide it and suburbanise it.
Yeah, so just basically to make it into another housing development, which, we're not naive about the fact that we need more housing for the population growth in the area, but we're just not real happy that it comes about to be around a spot of, as I've alluded to, a spot of massacre and a spot of culture before that. It'll just end up like another. I'm not even sure what the prices of the lots are priced at the moment, but you're talking about developing on top of bones or in close proximity to bones, and I wouldn't have my kids around it.
Now, for the last few years, there has been people camped out on site, a bit of a protest camp and a cultural occupation, and that's been going continuously for a couple of years now. Can you tell us about the significance of that camp?
Well, the camp's significant for more than one reason. We've got like a sovereign garden going on out there. We've had people in place that have been out there and been sent by people who were part of the original protection that I alluded to earlier in the 70s and 80s. People of my bloodline who asked certain people to stick around and do the right thing for Deebing Creek, and they're still out there. There's more than one thing going on, but the main concern at the moment is to, preserve the land and have it always preserved.
Has it been good for Yuggera people and Aboriginal people in the area having this community space where people are coming together and living on country?
Oh, it's to a certain degree. Like there's certain members of the community who aren't Yuggera, and there's members of Yuggera who probably disagree with it. But I think it's for like. The basis of what the people are there to do is to protect the site and protect ancestral human remains, and we've now got evidence of that in more than one form, and we just want the site preserved for the koalas, because they're running out of spaces as well. Like if you drive around this place, I see it daily. I live in this community. You drive around and you see koalas and possums skittled all the time because they've got nowhere else to go. It's already been proven that the koalas are there. So we've got fudged environmental reports, again, for development. We've got a fudged DA from the Ipswich City Council, because now A.B. Jennings are calling them sinkholes. If they're sinkholes, how can you develop on it? How does the DA get approved? It's disgusting to think that a government knows the truth about what's happened at the site and still refuse to listen or acknowledge the history. On the A.B. Jennings site now, they're talking about there was no massacre. Well, how would they know? Because it's been passed down through our oral history and always has been. It wasn't written on a piece of paper, but it's true and correct to this day. That's why, to this day, the Queensland Police Service want to confiscate bones off a professor who's an expert in ancient DNA.
Yeah, so this has been a recent development at Deebing Creek, is the discovery of these bones and then a bit of a dispute over these bones. Can you tell us more about that?
I only know to the fact that the professor analysed some bones in an area for the future development of Deebing Springs in that vicinity. They look to be human bones, so he made some tests on it. He come back with some of them were actually human. And he wanted to further investigate it. And since then, the Queensland Police Service have tried to ascertain the bones, and I think since have looked at them in broad daylight and said none of them were human bones, and that was it.
And this has all happened in the last month or so?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And since then, there's also been a trespass notice handed to the camp after a couple of years of living there. What's happening with that?
So that was handed, I was away doing a couple of duties, but apparently that was handed over on, it would have been late April, to the protectors on site, and it basically said that they were trespassing. That's when the Queensland Police Service apparently said that they had no knowledge of the bones reported. Now the bones reported have been documented through protectors on site. When the bones were reported to the Queensland Police Service at Yamanto Police Station in question, and nothing was followed up, and then they turned up, within, I don't know how many days or weeks of that, and said they didn't know about it, but they wanted to remove the people on site.
Has there been anything happened since then, since that trespass notice was given?
To the best of my knowledge, they haven't attempted again on site, but they're still continuing work on what is now they call the Fraser's jurisdiction of the old Deebing Creek Mission Reserve or site. They're now still conducting works up there, even though they know of the discovery of what's happened on the A.B. Jennings portion of the land, if you get what I'm saying.
And so what's the future plans for the Deebing Creek protectors?
We're just going to keep trying to protect what's ours. It's about doing the right thing more than anything. That's what we're about. We're about protecting the site, protecting the atrocities that were done on the site, and potentially moving forward. They can build little housing blocks anywhere else, like they've done at Springfield, like they've done countless. They've cleared enough bush. Well, why have they got to clear what our old people were enslaved on and massacred on? It makes no sense.
So if people want to find out more about Deebing Creek or want to show support, how can they do that?
Multiple ways, but probably the best thing is just having conversations. But you can also, there's a site on Facebook, the Jargon Bar Protection site, Deebing Creek. If you just Google search that or Facebook search that, and it'll come up with what the mob are doing on the ground.
And can people come out there to the site?
Yeah, basically we're pretty inviting most of the times. Unless you're out there with a property developer or a QPS, we don't get. We don't get scared that easily. The people on site are happy to show you the gardens and all the rest of it, and give you a quick rundown of the history. Every now and again we do truth and healing out there. That's been a constant thing. We've invited people of the local community to come out, and we've called it Toolmore Truth and Healing, where we'll do every month or two we'll meet up with some new people, and sometimes people that have been there before, and we'll just go over the history and why we continue to fight for the site and what's going on camp.
What's been the effect of those truth and healing meetings?
Oh, they get pretty emotional. You come together with people from all different backgrounds, and we get across our grievances, I suppose, as First Nations people about the potential development of the site, and we've got a lot of people on site who aren't First Nations, but they're still down for the fight. We get to the nitty gritty about why we're upset, and yeah, they're pretty emotional, and we've invited people. This is the thing. Like, we've invited Mayor Teresa Harding. We've invited her. We've invited people of local government before it got to this. We invited them to come down and sit down and talk it out and have a cuppa, but no one would really come to it, So we got a mayor at the moment who, through that proposed Deebing Creek application, basically wants revegetation where the pit area is, where human remains have been found. She wants revegetation, which can only mean some trees on top of it. And it's not like we haven't given her the opportunity. Like, it's been a case of, do you want to actually talk to grassroots people about why we continue to fight for the site? But it's obviously they've got bigger agendas, or they're paid off agendas. So.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of big bucks go through Ipswich City Council over the years, as we know. But for Yuggera people, it's still that case, the old way of just sitting down and talking, hey?
Oh, it's. I don't even think it's not even our direct way, Andy. It's all of our people's way. It's just sit down and yarn it out. But you're taking what people have got to understand is, when neighbouring tribes and all the rest of it, it's all good to sit down and have a yarn and all the rest of it. But when we're talking about Deebing Creek and the atrocities, well, it's not Yuggera jurisdiction. It's not our jurisdiction. It's bigger than that, because the people that were potentially massacred come from all different backgrounds of our peoples. You know what I mean? You got to acknowledge that first.
Okay, thanks very much, Daniel.
All right, mate. Take care.
You're listening to The Paradigm Shift on 4ZZZ, and we were speaking with Daniel Thompson about the Deebing Creek old mission site, massacre site, that Yuggera people and Yuggera people and Aboriginal people of all kinds and their supporters have been trying to protect. And it's several years now. That camp at Deebing Creek has been going since 2019. It was set up. The campaign's been going much longer than that. I interviewed Daniel's cousin, actually, Wade Thompson, I think 2017, about trying to protect Deebing Creek. And so it has been a long struggle, and one ongoing, and one where it's interesting that talk just then about truth and healing. These things often are about much more than just one patch of land that trying to be saved. It's about how to live in this country, how to come to terms with the fact that this land was taken from the people that were living in it, and what that means for our present situation. So all these campaigns, they're important in many ways, but also protecting that land at Deebing Creek is important. And you can support it, you can get involved, you can go down there and visit them. And as Daniel said, you can check out the Facebook page for a lot of updates on what's going on there, and you can contact them through that as well. Well, another Aboriginal people that have been fighting against the desecration of their land for a long time is Wangan and Jagalingou people in central Queensland, sort of inland from Mackay. It's a big area, a big country, and they've had a big struggle on their hands trying to stop the Adani Carmichael mine. The mine, of course, is built. It's still struggling a bit, that mine, but it is going. But Wangan and Jagalingou people have not given up, and the most recent step has been the Waddananggu ongoing continuous ceremony being conducted on Adani's mine lease there. And I spoke to Coedie McAvoy, who's been there for 260 days now. He says 240 in this interview, but I did do it a couple of weeks ago, actually. And so an incredible effort there. Very inhospitable conditions through summer, I can tell you that. But they are still going. And so let's have a listen to Coedie and see what it's all about.
What am I? Ngaju Nari Kuri, Naya Wadawudi, Ngaju Yambanani Wangan Jagalingou. Hello, how you going? My name is Coedie. speak witty language, and I'm from the Wangan and Jagalingou people from central Queensland.
So Wangan and Jagalingou have been in the news quite a bit in recent years over the struggle against Adani and the Carmichael mine that's taken many different facets over the years, and it's still going with you and others camped out there across from Adani's mine site at Waddananggu. For those who don't know, do you want to give us a brief overview of how you ended up at this point?
Yeah, so we've initially said no to Adani in 2012, and then in 2014 the whole group said no. So we've been saying no ever since. You know, Adani got an illegitimate Indigenous land use agreement fraudulently signed by members that are no longer members of our group through anthropological reports. And so we've maintained our no stance against Adani's Carmichael mine ever since. My father, Adrian Burugaba, went through 5 federal court cases to try and stop Adani, and then subsequently he ended up getting bankrupted for around $670,000, somewhere around that. He had no assets, so there was no drawing blood from a stone, so Adani's lawyers couldn't get any money out of him, and that was just a wasted expense for them. So then, from then, we started our actions on the ground. In 2019, I built a ceremony ground in an area called Lot 1, which is where their rail corridor drives through. Got subsequently starved out of food and water from Adani security, so I had to leave from there. And then on the 26th of August 2020, we built a big fire right in the middle of the road, just next to the cattle grid, and stopped all Adani cars and workers from using this road. They had to use the rail corridor that they had made, but it was open to the public. The police and the general public could use the side access gate that was there. And so we set up the camp in an area called the Footprint. We call it Dalgally Dinner. It's a very special place. It's got lots of really old growth trees with birthing scars on them, and there's a burial scar in there. And so we set that place up as a camp and had the fire out on the road, and the police eventually came and removed us, and then they came into the pastoral east where our camp was on the Footprint and removed us from there. So my dad went to Brisbane, got a human rights case against the Queensland Police, and then in March 2021 we had a mediation with the Queensland Police and Crown Lawyers and Human Rights Commission, found that they had breached our human rights for removing us from the Footprint. So they had to write a statement of regret, saying they're going to take precaution when dealing with us in the future. After we got that letter, I did a tour to Carmichael, which was a 105-kilometre bike ride from the Gregory Highway to where I am right now, and then we finished back off at the Footprint. And so on the 26th of August, I was thinking of something to do that would be the anniversary of doing something out here every 26th of August. So we decided to set up Waddananggu. So Wadda means talk. The na suffix on the end makes it Waddana, talking, and then the ungu on the end makes it na, so the talking. And Waddananggu means the talking, so anything from talking to neighbouring tribes to tribes far and wide to talking to non-tribal people that's in this country now to talking to government officials that have the power to remove Adani from across the road. So where we are situated, we're sitting on a flood levee, and it's a built-up wall, and it's directly opposite of Adani's mine pit. And we've been here since the 26th of August last year, which is day 240 today, actually. So we've been here. I've been here every night. I've slept at Waddananggu through the strong winds, through the torrential rains, through the scorching heats of like 47, 48 degrees. And we're still here, we're still enjoying ourselves, and, you know, the talking is still happening. So that's a bit of a basic overview of where we're up to till now.
240 days is a very long time. When you first set it up, did you know what you're in for?
No, when we first set it up, we were kind of just anticipating of getting removed straight away, or within like a week. When we originally set it up, it was through old maps that we were looking at that this was supposed to be the gazetted road. So we thought we'd try and take advantage of being on the gazetted road. But turns out that the maps were wrong, and where the road is actually where the road is gazetted. So turns out we're actually just ended up on the mining lease. So then we made the decision while I was here. I was like, well, I'm already here. I'm not going to leave now. Let's at least give it a shot. So I said to the police that I'm not going to speak to the police until they get me a translator, because everybody in this country isn't afforded a translator. So I have the right to speak my own language on my own country. And they've found it very difficult to try and find a translator, and they're still finding it difficult to find a translator because I won't talk to them about Waddananggu to them, because I said to them that as representatives of the Crown, if you want to know about my culture, I have to tell you in my language, because it's a descriptive language. So it's a bit of a thing I've got going with the police, because it's a right that everybody has in this country. It's a law that they have to have a translator. So this thing has been going on for 240 days now, and I'm just using the laws that they have and just turning it around and, you know, doing it in a peaceful way, in a peaceful manner. And it's just it's basically just an occupation. The fire inside a stone circle that we have here has always been lit, and there's always one Wangan and Jagalingou person inside the circle at all times. And there's nothing foreign inside the circle, so we can't bring in shoes, can't wear hats or watches or bring a phone in or anything like that. So we have these 3 rules set up that have been going for 240 days now, and the hundreds of people that have come here have all respected those 3 rules. So those 3 rules are there that if the police try to come and remove me from the circle, then they're going to be breaking those 3 rules that everybody has adhered to since being here. So it's a strategic game that I'm playing with the Queensland Police and with the government, to the extent of I'm trying to let them know that I know how to play this game and I want my country back. It was taken from my grandfather, and I'm here to say to the state government that I want it back. They stole it, and it's not about black or white. It's about property rights. It was taken from our people. So this is the whole struggle that we're going through, having to try and get this conversation with the government. But being here just highlights the issue. And, you know, most things that have happened through the history of time have happened to the people that have been persistent and consistent. And hard work and determination and dedication eventually pays off throughout history. So, you know, it's about being consistent, and that's what we're doing here. And, you know, I'm going to consistently stay here until some real change happens, whether it takes another 6 months or whether it takes another year or whatever. I'm pretty prepared to see where this goes. And Waddananggu will continue on.
For yourself and the other Wangan and Jagalingou people that have been there, I mean, has this changed your way of like appreciating how you relate to country or how you relate to each other?
Oh, for sure. You know, everybody that comes here feels more and more connected the more that they stay here. Most of my family have come here, and I've got a fair bit of family staying here now, and they really enjoy the serenity of just going out into the bush out the back. This is not a dry, desolate desert area. We have over 100 different bird species in our backyard here. We have purebred dingoes. We have goannas. We have emus, kangaroos. It's full of life out the back here that people can come and see, that this is not just a barren wasteland that is just readily available to come and mine. We have totemic trees here that I'm teaching my family that we're connected to these trees and we're connected to these animals, and it's our human right to protect them. Under the Queensland Human Rights Act, it's our human right to protect these animals that it's on the northern end of this mining lease. So even if it comes to the point where I'll make the deal with the government that they turn this northern section of the mining lease into a nature refuge that they can't mine in here, then that'll be a win there, I think.
And you mentioned the Tour de Carmichael from last year earlier on. There's another Tour de Carmichael coming up?
Yeah, there's another Tour de Carmichael coming up. It's on the 23rd to the 27th of May. So more than free to come along. Everybody is welcome. It's open to everybody. Anybody that has any sort of willingness to learn Wangan and Jagalingou culture. And you learn our culture through us explaining to you our surroundings and describing it to people is how somebody would do if they would walk into their backyard and they have all these ornaments and people just bring them over to their house to show people. So this is basically what we're doing. We're showing people that we are the people from here, and it's just a great way to take in the scenery on a push bike, because you don't really get the chance to, because you're driving so fast along a dirt road that you kind of miss a lot of the things. So if people want to come and learn about Wangan and Jagalingou culture, also learn about, Aboriginal culture in general, on how to approach Aboriginal people, go back to your homes, and how to have this meaningful conversation with the traditional owners in your area to get the conversation started. Because the onus is not upon the Aboriginal people to come to the broader public. It's up to the broader public that has to come and make the effort to want to come and learn Aboriginal culture, to have some real conciliation. Not reconciliation, because we've never been together. This type of things that we do with the Tour de Carmichael and Waddananggu is to bring people together, is the conciliation, is to, come and learn. We're open. Aboriginal culture and Aboriginal people aren't an exclusive thing. It's always been open. It's just that the government has always said that it's us versus them. So they've thought that we'll never accept them. But the Tour de Carmichael is a great example of our willingness to want to teach people. And because once you teach people and once they learn, they can't unlearn it then. And they know that, there's some sort of moral responsibility because they know how this environment works. So if you feel like you want to learn some stuff, come along to the Tour de Carmichael. There's a registration on the Tour de Carmichael website, and all Aboriginal people from around the country, if they would like to come as well, it's free for them. Just contact us and fill out the rego form and just let us know what mob you're from, and if you need any assistance in travel. So, Tour de Carmichael is open for everyone to come along and enjoy and have some great experiences with lots of other people on push bikes.
And 240 days in, you've been there certainly a long time. What's the plans for the future?
So the plans for the future is to just keep getting the word out there, keep putting the pressure on the court systems, keep putting pressure on the land court. It's not just Adani that we're in battle with. It's also GVK, owned by Gina Reinhardt, and Waratah Coal. So I just recently went down to Bimblebox Nature Reserve 2 days ago and did a welcome to country for the land court. It's the first time they've ever come out onto country and done a on-country court proceeding. So we made it very special for them, and I think we left a lasting impression on the land court judge, not only the land court judge, but a lasting impression on the president of the land court was also there as well. And they were pretty taken back, and they enjoyed the information that we presented to them. And I think this could be a turning tide for, our rights being recognised as our human rights to be recognised to protect our environment, because they're so closely tied into our culture. So these type of things will continue to happen. We'll continue to show up and make our presence known to the court systems that, this part up here where I'm currently residing isn't the only part of my country. It travels all the way down to Alpha and out to Claremont. So, there's a big stretch of country that, I've got to constantly be here for. And so, it's a slow process. We still, building relationships with the Claremont and the Isaac Council. We've got a crobbery ground in there now, so it's just basically about doing more programs and getting the community more involved in our way of life and who we are. So there's a long road to go, and it's not just this is not just a stunt. It's not a feel-good moment that I do to try and make myself feel good. This is my life. And this is my life, and I don't know how long it's going to take, and whether it takes years or not. But we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep putting in court litigation against Adani to try and eventually make him leave. So the fight doesn't stop until he leaves, I guess, and we don't lose until we quit. So no time to quit around here when there's so many animals and these sacred trees depend on us. So big burden to carry, but we know that if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. So it's up to us.
All right. Thanks very much, Coeds.
No worries.
Leading into this election, direct your digital device to 4ZZZ Breaks the Election podcast to make sense of the election, with daily updates and breakdowns in words that mean something to us and you. Brought to you by the ingenious 4ZZZ newsroom. You can listen to it all via 4ZZZ.org.au/news or via your favourite podcasting app.
That interview you just heard was Coedie McAvoy, Wangan and Jagalingou, and Weirdie speaking, activist, giving us an update on Waddananggu. They've been there for 260 days now on Adani's mine site. Of course, they've been resisting Adani much longer than that. As you will probably know if you're a regular listener to the Paradigm Shift, we've had a lot to do with them over the years. And if you want to go up there to Waddananggu, you can. It's a long way from anywhere. Claremont's the closest town. Emerald's the closest airport, I think. You can go up there and show your support. There's lots of other ways you can show your support too, pitch in some money or spread the word. But the Tour de Carmichael is happening next week. I heard there's another event on next weekend that's far less empowering when it comes to politics, but still important, I guess. But the Tour de Carmichael had its date picked long before the election, and so people are going to go up there, ride through Wangan and Jagalingou country, a bit through Janga country as well, I should point out, and experience that country and learn about it and why it needs to be protected. It is a great time. I was on the tour last year and can recommend it. And you can find out more Wangan and Jagalingou Standing Our Ground is a Facebook page, and I think the website where you can learn how to get into the Tour de Carmichael if you're keen to be a last-minute registration for that. Before Coedie, of course, at the start of the show, we were speaking to Daniel Thompson, much closer to home, just east of Ipswich, where the Deebing Creek mission is trying to be developed by A.V. Jennings, and they've been doing the same thing, sitting down on country, bearing witness to it, to their continuing connection, and trying to protect it. When you don't have the political power of big mining companies or big development companies, but you do have a lot of determination and a long culture of getting together and sharing space together, then it is an option. You can sit down on country, and it's worked many times for Aboriginal people through history, actually, and hopefully for both these Queensland Aboriginal nations, it will work again. But as I said earlier with Daniel, there's a lot to be learnt about what it means to live in Australia from these campaigns, and from going and talking to people and trying to figure out, what does it mean to belong to country, to respect Indigenous people's connection to it, and what can we learn from that. There's all kinds of things. I really liked what Daniel's saying about the truth and healing talks that they've been doing, and Coedie was saying the same about conciliation. He said it's not about reconciliation because they were never together to begin with. It started off badly. It's about working towards a better start. It's not about bringing it back to some equilibrium that we never had. And both these Aboriginal men I've interviewed today, and of course the Aboriginal nations that they represent and the campaigns that they're a part of, have something to offer politics in this country if people are willing to sit down and listen to these people who are sitting down to talk. So that's about all I have time for on the Paradigm Shift. I'll be back next week, of course. See you then.